Gita. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, so in the 5th chapter, 23rd shloka we were discussing, we are to discuss. We just little started it. Ayancha Shreyo Marga Pratipakshe Kashtatamo Doshaha Sarvanartha Prapti Hetuhu Durnivaraschaiti Tat Parihare Yatnadikyam Kartavyam. This what is that? The Bhoga Sakti. Bhoga Sakti, Bhashya Vishaya Priti, the liking or attachment to the external pleasures, that is the pleasures born of mind and sense organs in contact with the external world. This we call the objects of enjoyment. In this person depending on these or taking interest in them, depending on them, simply the material pleasures or mental pleasures, any pleasure that is born of external contact makes us dependent. Secondly, it is not natural to us because it is an acquired one. What is acquired through others is not natural to us. What is natural can never be eternal. At the same time, it is not eternal. At the same time, natural also. What is natural alone remains with us and makes us feel natural. Otherwise, anything artificial is artificial only. Therefore, ayancha, to this, the upodghata, that means a connection to this shloka, Shankaracharya says, ayancha shreyo marga pratipakshe kashtatamo doshaha. This defect is a most troublesome defect. That depending upon external pleasures. In fact, not only this defect, we call it a defect because this harms us rather than helps us. Depending upon external pleasures, both at the level of sense organs, mind and intellect, any level. These enjoyments or pleasures are impediments not only to spiritual life, even to the worldly life. Once we become interested in the external worldly pleasures, person becomes addicted to them. Once you become addicted, you become aggressive, selfish, cruel. That selfishness, you become selfish, we become selfish, and that selfishness, if it is obstructed by others, we become cruel, we become aggressive, we become intolerant to others. All these things we see in social life too. In the social life, in the political life, economic life, everywhere the problem. That's why spirituality understands the problem of entire human life is this alone. This itself is a biggest problem of entire humanity. So other restrictions like political laws, social laws, economic laws, government laws, culture, values, they only restrict. To a certain degree, they minimize the problem. See, first thing is cruelty, exploitation. Cruelty, exploitation is due to aggression. Aggression is due to selfishness. Then what is selfishness? Self-interest is selfishness. Where does that self-interest consist in? It consists in indulging in worldly pleasures, pleasures born of sense organs, mind and intellect. So the money and power and attachment, emotional, physical pleasure, these are the things. So in fact, the whole social life, political life and economic life is based upon this alone. This means only to satisfy these desires, we developed the social life and economics and all that, only to satisfy this. But the spiritual Shastra, Vedanta says, this is not natural. Though we live, we need some kind of social life just to live a life, that is true. We need a social, economic and political, all that is, if you take it as much as necessary, just the bare necessity, it is okay. But more than the necessity, we make it as an absolute value, as an absolute interest. See, a tentative need-based interest is different from an absolute interest. A need-based interest is, we need money, we need good health and all that. That's natural because that's a simple need-based interest. A need-based interest won't be so cruel, so inhuman, so aggressive and so selfish. Because it understands the laws, it understands the social laws, government laws, and also it doesn't go out of the way to exploit and destroy and cruelly treat others. Okay. It is the ego-based desires. See, simple need-based desires, ego-based desires, that is a selfishness-based desires. The desires springing from selfishness and ego are different from the desires springing from the basic needs of living life. The needs of living life are simple needs. They are not very harmful. We can be sympathetic to those needs and mutually help. We can supply those needs and help others. So the hunger and thirst and the good health, we need to have a good health, and we need to have the basic needs. Physically taking care of the body. We need to protect ourselves from the elements like rain, heat and cold. We need to protect, have some house. All these things are simple needs. We need clothes, we need food, we need a shelter, we need some medicine to have a good health, and we need a good friendship to live in the company of another person. The love and friendship, these are all simple need-based. Need-based is different. But a selfishness and ego-based desires, this is much deeper. That's where the spirituality comes in. So most of the people are unable to distinguish this ego-based desires from the need-based desires, because the needs of the society, the needs of human beings are taken as ego-based desires. See, these two desires get mixed up. In fact, we try to, almost all of them, all the people try to fulfill the ego-based desires through the need-based desires. Or we mistake that in the underlying the need-based desires or the ego-based desires. So the need becomes the ego. Need becomes the ego. Needs are simple. Like the children. You can look at the children. Children have simple needs. They don't go to the extent of ego. Their needs are satisfied, they simply become relaxed and start playing. Once in a while they may quarrel a little bit, but they instantly forget. They cry and again forget. See, there is a little bit of ego even in children. They also get angry and then sometimes get hurt and they scream, and they not only they scream, they beat also others. The small children, babies. But again instantly they forget. So it is not very deep-seated ego. It is just a superficial passing ego. Basically, it is simple needs they are interested in. And the ego needs to be tackled only in spiritual sadhana. But instead of tackling the ego at the spiritual level, we take the ego needs as a part of a worldly needs, and we allow the worldly needs, the material needs, worldly needs, simple needs. We made those needs into the big ideologies and destructions, religious ideologies, imperialistic ideologies, political ideologies, and ambitions and all that. We made out of these simple needs into a much more ego-based desires. Because we connect our ego-based desires, because we are unable to distinguish that the ego-based desires have to be tackled at a different level. They need Vedantic sadhana, dharma and spirituality, Vedantic sadhana. Instead of that, we mix up that ego desire, ego-based desires, the needs of ego into the worldly things alone. That's why all these problems. You can see all the national, international problems all over the same problem. Economic problem is a big competition. Political problem. People want to dominate the societies, exploit them, subjugate them, terrorize them. Why? All these are the ego needs. The religion has become an ego need. Religion becomes a fanaticism. Religion becomes an aggressive political ideology because it becomes an ego need. It becomes an ego-based desire. But religion is a simple thing. Why? Because we are unable to understand it, make it into an ego-based desire. Economics, political, national boundaries, the nation is a simple thing. That people live together and then they have a certain common interest and take care of them. That is simple thing. But the nation becomes an ego again. Nation becomes an ego. Language becomes an ego. Language is a language. You love it and you use it. It's a simple thing. But the language also becomes an ego. Economics becomes an ego. Commerce becomes an ego. Nation becomes an ego. Religion becomes an ego. Families becomes an ego. Everything becomes connected to ego. And we think that ego-based desires can be fulfilled by dominating others, by subjugating others, by exploiting, defeating in war, killing them. We think that ego can be fulfilled by killing others, by subjugating others. Whose ego is fulfilled, tell me, and become egoless and humble by exploiting other nations, killing other people in the name of religion, in the name of politics, in the name of ideologies, political ideology, economic ideology, whatever they have. See, by killing people, how many people their ego becomes satisfied? They become peaceful and humble people after killing how many people? By subjugating. Britishers ruled us for a long time, more than 100 years, 150 years. You mean after 150 years their ego becomes humbled, now they become very nice and gentle people? It keeps on feeding. This ego, more fulfilled, more it keeps on feeding on it. It becomes further bloated because that becomes another addiction. Ego fulfilled becomes a further strengthened. See, ego cannot be removed by fulfilling it. But hunger can be fulfilled. After some time, suppose a person eats something and you serve him second time or third time, a time comes where his hunger is appeased and it doesn't take more. Even if you force him, he will leave it in the plate, he won't be able to eat it. Because there is a limit for hunger. You can be appeased at one stage. Water, you can drink 1 or 2 tumblers, then later you are appeased. Any simple needs can be satisfied. Afterwards, you don't crave for it. You don't demand it. You don't become aggressive for it. But ego need is terrible. It can never be satisfied. Even on satisfying by torturing others, exploiting, killing, still it becomes further strong. It becomes stronger. It wants more. If it kills once, it wants to kill more. Therefore, the ego-based desires are much deeper. But the problem is they cannot be recognized independently. They are mixed up with other desires. Isn't it? That's how the society is unable to recognize. The purpose of education is this. The purpose of education, the purpose of culture, the purpose of spiritual religion, dharmic religion, not those political ideological religions. Those religion is only political ideologies, radical ideologies. It is invading, subjugating, colonizing, controlling, exploiting others, so that others should not be richer than you. Others should not gain more things. They should remain under your control, and you want to rule. You or we, anybody. So, unable to handle this ego, why unable to understand this ego and unable to handle, people start condemning religion, because that religion is used as an ego satisfying, the fanaticism, bigotry, all these are when ego is connected to religion. Then we start criticizing, condemning religion. We start condemning political ideologies, war, kingdom and all that, nation. People criticize nationalism. Nationalism itself is a simple law, simple discipline, value, just like a society lives together. Similarly, ethnic society lives together because of common interest. Similarly, nation is also common interest, they live together. It should not become a matter of ego. But when it becomes a matter of ego, there are some people start criticizing nationalism. There are some people criticizing religion, criticizing politics, criticizing economics also started becoming ego trip. Even the medical sciences, the pharmaceutical companies have become ego trip, want to subjugate people, increase diseases rather than curing diseases. They increase diseases. It has become mafia gang. Everything is made into that. Why? Because an individual ego cannot handle. Therefore, you make it into a collective ego, group ego. Okay? That's what some religions, some political ideologies, nationalism, political ideology or religious ideology. All these three create a group ego, a bigger ego. In your nationalism or in certain religious ideology or political ideology, fanatic religion I'm talking of. In these things, ego is not sublimated. Ego is not sublimated. In fact, ego is more reinforced. It has become expanded. It is identified. The identity of the ego changes. You identify, you shift your ego to a larger area, that's all. The ego the ego which was existing on individuality base, ego which was existing on family base, has shifted to your group base, your nation base. It is ego remains the same thing. Ego becomes identify with a nation, identify with a religion, identify with a political ideology. Okay. So they have not solved the problem of ego. They have only shifted the ego into another format. The form of ego changes. Therefore, the group, all the people belonging to one group, they help each other. They are humble towards each other. They share with each other. They are humble towards each other. They respect each other. But the other group, they are becoming very cruel to outsiders. The group inwardly is friendly, but it becomes cruel and aggressive towards the people who are outside that group. Therefore, this ego problem is a separate, independent problem. People are unable to understand. They are mixing it with social, political, economic, religious, language and so on. They keep on connecting with these things, and they think that our natural needs, they think it is a natural need. But it is in fact more than natural, it is egoistic need. So unable to distinguish it. If the ego problem was separately understood as a separate one, much deeper one, and it can be handled, it can be solved with spirituality, with Vedantic understanding, and spiritual sadhanas like bhakti and meditation, and also Vedantic inquiry, self-inquiry, understanding. Vedantic inquiry resulting in intuitive understanding, a deeper understanding. There your ego gets sublimated or melted away, and you start seeing everybody as yourself, the whole universe as myself. Then the love and compassion become very spontaneous and also limitless. Your love and compassion and friendliness is not limited to one family, is not limited to one language, not limited to one nation. It belongs to whole humanity. Why humanity? Even to the entire cosmos, even to the living beings, planets, animals, everything, plants, whole universe it extends. Therefore, simple needs, the needs have become much more complicated because the ego-based desires are mixed up and they could not distinguish. That's why you see simple needs of food, clothes, shelter, simple things become a matter of quarrel. Once the ego is attached to it, people start quarreling with each other based upon egos alone. The religion is a simple, in fact. Simple devotion and faith are simple. It is supposed to purify your mind, make your mind simple, gentle, help you to transcend your ego, help you to melt away your ego, help you to melt away your selfishness. But in fact, it is assuming another what you call formidable proportion, assuming a more bigger dimension. The ego is identified with a bigger dimension, and it is becoming more complex, more complicated, more difficult to handle. That's why the religion, which was meant for simply purifying you, making you a simple man, a natural, spontaneous lover like the children are, instead of children, it makes the people more bigoted. And in that what is that bigotry? What is that fanaticism? Your sensitivity becomes selective. Your sensitivity becomes selective. Your love becomes selective. Your kindness, compassion becomes selective. Your friendliness becomes selective. Your ethical sense, moral sense becomes limited, selective. Not only selective, you love some people, some area, and to the proportionally start hating the others. Proportionally, you become so insensitive to others that even if you cruelly torture them, your heart, it doesn't touch your heart. You don't feel, it doesn't move your heart. Even though you are cruel to others, you think that you are doing a good thing by torturing others. By torturing others, you are doing a great religious job. You are pleasing your God by torturing others. So the mind becomes insensitive. The sensitivity, the love and the compassion is not universal and all pervasive. It becomes selected. And other area, leaving those your loved part, other area you start becoming insensitive, cruel. That insensitivity also is, the degree of insensitivity keeps fluctuating again. Sometimes you ignore, sometimes you give little trouble and leave them. Sometimes you become very, very cruel that you want to torture them, not simply killing them. More than killing, you want to highly persecute them. Brutally with extended long persecution. Brutal torture for long torture you want to do. Even after that long torture, the ego is not satisfied. In fact, it feeds on it. It wants to kill more people. Do we understand? Where does it all? They are unable to understand. They say there is a Satan and all those things is a nonsense, another thing. There is no Satan. We are all Satans. All human beings are Satans. The Satan is there. It is your immaturity. It is your narrowing down your love and compassion. Your ego is limited, and then narrowing down to one area, other area you become inhuman, cruel. That is called Satan. Selective love is a Satan. Selective dedication. You are dedicated, you are devoted to one, and you are against the remaining. That is Satan. Where else is Satan? Satan is in your selectiveness, selective approach, limited approach. Okay, if it is a poetic way of telling Satan, okay, we don't mind if you call it a more figurative way, poetic way. But if we understand it is in human nature, it's okay. But instead of that, you put that it is a Satan is somewhere, and you brand a few people as Satans, and this becomes too childish. That's why some of these religions have become too childish and political, either childish or political. Either way, they are foolish. The same ego reformulated. It is like the same ego put in a new bottle. The same old wine in a new bottle. The same ego put in a new bottle. That's all. Assuming a new shape, new form, and new name. The same Satan. Those who talk of Satan, those who want to kill Shaitan, those who want to be away from the control of Shaitan, themselves become Satan. Satan means a Satan in English. I think in India we call Satan. That's an Arabic word. So Satan, okay. So those who want to oppose Satan ultimately end up themselves becoming Satans. They are not able to see the quality of there. They only just brand the name and start to persecute. So all these ultimately mean a selective love, a selective interest, a selective identification. You identify with one and oppose other. It is a selective identification. A selective identification with a language, with a society, with a religion, with a law. These are all selective. Some area identify. That means your ego is not melted. Ego is not sublimated. Ego gets a selective area, so that other area you can hate. In hating you don't find. In persecuting others you don't find anything wrong, because you got a name, that name of Satan. The name of Satan is very convenient to express all your hatred, all your ego, all your persecuting tendency. All that gets easy expression in the name of very clean conscience. You can express in the name of Satan. That excluding, dividing people. All this comes because the basic root cause is not understood. Okay, the basic root cause is the ego-based desires. Therefore, he says the ego first, beginning in a child, it depends upon external. You see the child's ego. How does it start? The small baby doesn't have an ego, but as it grows up, whenever that ego starts at the age of 2 or 3, I am told, the ego consciousness develops in a baby at the age of 2 or 3 years old, I am told. Okay, so whatever age, that's not important, but at some age, okay, once baby becomes ego conscious, it wants everything for itself. Oh, when you see this thing, oh, this is mine. If somebody takes it, no, he can't stand it. Oh, this is mine. This is my pen. The plaything, some doll or something, you touch it, you look at it, oh, how nice it is. He says, no, it's mine. Yeah, it is yours. I want to just have a look at it. No, I won't give you. You have to plead the baby, okay, I shall see and give you back. You have to convince the baby with a lot of explanation. Because once ego comes, it starts possessing it. That insecurity. Ego is an insecure, psychological feeling of insecurity is a part of ego. Psychological insecurity. The feeling of insecurity. The sense of insecurity is a part of ego. And pleasures, dependency, emotional dependency, all these are part of that ego. Therefore, then we start possessing. Whatever we start possessing, whatever we start earning, whatever we start to relate to, in all those things, the ego keeps on identifying with many things. Therefore, first the very crude form of ego has to be removed. It has to be little made gentle. The ego has to be made gentle and softened. For that, first control your sense organs. The sense pleasures dependency, excess of dependency and attachment, emotional attachment. Therefore, you have to purify your emotions. Remove the negative emotions of hatred, anger, and such things. So, purify the emotions, sublimate them. And ego needs to be in the beginning a little bit sublimated. And pleasure dependency has to be cut down. Then your consciousness awakens. You become more sensitive, more conscious being, more conscious in a positive sense. I am talking conscious in a positive sense. You become more awareful being, because in awareful, more positive qualities come: the selflessness, loving nature, kind, compassionate, understanding, sharing, friendliness. Even in your thoughts, you respect others' thoughts. You don't become offensive for no reason. You become very friendly and gentle to others, even in thoughts and views. Even thoughts and views about others, okay, you allow the people to hold their views. You are not very cruel just because he holds a different view. You are very cruel, very, very aggressive. You hate the person for holding a different view. So all these things should come down. Person should become little tolerant, open-minded, friendly, and compassionate. So this art and music and poetry, all these are supposed to deepen your sensitivity. Sensitivity means the values to the friendliness, love, compassion, okay, sharing. All these things are you supposed to purify. That's why everything is a karma yoga. We call music is a karma yoga, painting, drawing is a karma yoga, service is a karma yoga, living as a good family member. Good family member, a loving, caring, understanding, serving family member is also a karma yoga. Simply, you live a good family member, serving, loving, caring for everybody. That itself is another karma yoga. A first stage of spirituality, preliminary stage of a preparatory stage of spirituality. That is Adhyatmika. So, even if you are a good member of society, serving, loving, caring to people, even if you get a power, use the power, follow the law and help the people to follow the law and understand them. Even if they violate mistakes, doesn't matter, you understand. You treat them sympathetically, compassionately, and help them to follow. Help them to be a better human beings. So all these various services, art, music, that's whatever, various things. All these things are enhance your sensitivity, make you little more compassionate person. Okay. So that ego melts into a more conscious, loving, compassionate person. This is what we mean Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga, in all walks of life, in all aspects of life, we are supposed to use it. Okay. Therefore, to begin with, person learns the culture, values, a good human being. So these are the things form the preliminary stage of religion and spirituality. Therefore, this should be the common education for all, to begin with, any human being. Then at a later stage, then it little more advanced, you go deeper into it, then the totally erasing the ego, totally sublimating and melting away the ego is with jnanam or meditation or Vedantic understanding. It is a still higher stage. Therefore, he says, Jnani who attains that absolute freedom and absolute intuitive understanding of Atma as not an individual. Atma means oneself is not an individual, is an all-pervasive being, is a conscious being who is one with the whole universe. Entire universe is himself. Therefore, his love and compassion is spontaneous, effortlessly loves everybody, effortlessly sees everybody as himself. He can never, even subconscious mind, he can never entertain hating, hating or hurting. Hating and hurting, he cannot even think, even subconscious mind, he cannot think of it. Because his mind is totally made free from the ego and the ego-based desires. It becomes totally free from it. That is an enlightened person. We have been discussing about Jnani's nature. Therefore, to begin with, as a preliminary step, Jnani has already done it in his preliminary stage and attained the highest freedom, absolute freedom. But sadhaka follows that one part of it. Shaknoti haiva yasodhum in 23rd shloka. Praksharira vimokshana. He says, even before you die. That means until death, until your last breath of your life, you should keep practicing these values. What is that? Kama krododbhavam vegam. You keep resisting. You keep controlling the force of kama and krodha. Kama is desire. Krodha is anger. The force of raga dvesha, all our negative emotions, all our ego-based thoughts, views and emotions, etc. are reduced into reduced means classified, let us say. Classified broadly into two, raga and dvesha. That is love and hatred. That is desire and hatred. A self-interest and hatred. Self-interest and hatred, desire and hatred, these two are common basis for all other things. Jealousy and ego and all other things, these are the basis. Therefore, he is touching this kama krodha. These two come with a force. What is that force? Ego behind them is the force. So this raga dvesha, the intensity of self-interest, intensity of hatred and anger depends upon intensity of ego. Okay, it is the intensity of ego comes as a force behind these desires. That means they are ego-based desires. Therefore, he says, kama krodhod bhavam vegam. The vega literally means speed. But in other meaning also, vega means the force, the pressure. The pressure of the pressure behind the pressure in the raga and dvesha, in the desire and hatred. The desire is intensity. Pressure means the intensity of desire, intensity of anger, intensity of hatred depends upon the intensity of ego. Therefore, first loosen the intensity, make it light. Therefore, sayukta sasukhi naraha, a sadhaka who continuously pays attention to his mind and tries to remove that pressure of the raga dvesha, the force of raga dvesha, he melts away by following karma yoga or bhakti or meditation, all these upasana, ishta devata upasana, whomever you like, Rama, Krishna, Shiva, Devi, Lalita, whomever you take it. So these are all simple devotion. Devotion not based upon any dogma or anything. A simple devotion which purifies the mind. Devotion to God or goddess or any devata, it purifies your mind. It purifies means what? Your awareness, your consciousness is, sensitivity is awakened, expanded, and it develops into a positive values of love and care and understanding, sharing, being gentle, open-minded, all these things. Therefore, simply cultivating the mind, the values, cultivating the purity of mind, purity of emotions, it is good. It's a preliminary stage for everybody. This should be a continuous sadhana for all the people. See, Bhagavad Gita says, Sharira vimokshanat, prak sharira vimokshanat. Until the death, until the last moment of last breath of your life, you should not give up this effort. Your effort should be continuous one. Shankaracharya says, you should be continuously on guard. Don't allow those negative emotions overpower you. Try to melt them. Try to transform them into positive emotions, positive values, positive feelings. Make them into positive feelings, remove them. Purify them. This should be a continuous sadhana on your part. How he says, Yavan maranam tavanna visrambaniyam ityartha. Shankaracharya says, why calling it until the last breath of life? Shankaracharya himself asked the question, you see in Sanskrit it is very good. Jivataha maranasima karanam. Why putting the last breath of life? Why can't you say 5 years, 10 years you practice and it is over? No. He says no. No 5 years or 10 years. You have to be continuously on guard of yourself, your mind. How long? Don't ask how long. Until the last breath of your life. That means as long as you are alive, you have to be continuously on your guard. Don't trust your mind, because the instinctive, impulsive, the ego-based desires are always immediately jump and try to take possession of you, try to take a control of you, and they start dictating. Don't allow the dictation of those negative emotions, ego and all that. Be continuously on guard of it. Oh, time is up. I'll finish in 2 minutes. I started little late. So, jivatah avashyambhavi, because until if you are not enlightened person, as long as you live, an ordinary man is talking about ignorant person, not enlightened. For an ignorant person, until as long as you live, the forces, these negative forces, try to take control of you. Therefore, be always on your guard. Be always vigilant about yourself. Try to transform them into positive feelings, positive emotions of love and compassion and sharing and all these things. Okay. Be open-minded at the level of sense organ, at the level of mind, at the level of intellect. All these 3 levels, be continuously on guard of yourself. Okay. Vegaha ananta nimittavan, because there are many factors. Many factors which provoke your ego and all your negative emotions. There are innumerable factors, externally, internally. Somebody did something, somebody hurt something, and you carry vengeance against him. Somebody did something, again you carry. Even the simple statements create vengeance and anger. So there are ananta nimittavan, Shankaracharya says. There are innumerable, causative factors. They again bring about, they stiffen your mind. They stiffen your raga, dvesha, desires and anger, hatred. They stiffen. Therefore, they arouse you again. Therefore, don't allow it. Be continuously gentle. Be continuously. Therefore, that sadhana of karma yoga, bhakti and love, your ishta devata, prema, puja, the prayers, they should be continuously there. Their purpose is to purify the mind. Iti yavan maranam. Why do you set until the maranam? Because tavanna visrambaniyam, never lacks. Lax means never relax. Never take it lightly. Never slacken. Never slacken. Until how long? Until the last breath of your life. This is an advice to a common man. For an enlightened man, he already transcends them. Okay. He purified and transcends them. For a common man, until the last breath of your life, be on the guard. Because you don't know. One small second you slip, you become angry and vengeance. You may start becoming a very cruel animal and start hitting and doing all kinds of these things. And once you do it, it leaves an impression in your mind. It leaves a habit in your mind, and that keeps repeating. Once a negative emotion, negative thought, ego or hurting, something arises. Once you practice it, that becomes repetitive, because an impression it leaves in your subconscious mind, again it will pull you in the wrong direction. Therefore, he says, be always on your guard. This Bhagavad Gita not only talks the absolute truth, it teaches you the preparatory sadhanas also, how to purify the mind also. It talks very nicely. So therefore, shaknoti haiva yassodum. A person who is capable of dropping that pressure of your desires and anger within your mind, if you can control it, be always continuously on your guard, then such a person attains a purity of mind after some stage. Then later by Vedantic Vichara, self-inquiry, he transcends, totally melts away the ego and individuality. He understands the truth, absolute truth as himself. Then Sayuktaha, he is a really concentrated person, means he is totally relaxed person. And Sukhi is totally happy. Happy means spontaneously, naturally, fully he is happy. That means he becomes enlightened. So before he is enlightened, he is on the way. He should be always on his God. Okay, I think 23rd I have finished, I hope. If there is anything, we'll discuss in the next class. Otherwise, we'll proceed with the 24th shloka. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat.